Few angelic figures in Western esotericism are as powerful or as controversial as Metatron. Known as the scribe of heaven, the lesser Yahweh, or the supreme intermediary between God and humanity, Metatron occupies a high place in Jewish mysticism and some strands of Christian and Islamic thought. Yet, for all his celestial status, Metatron is conspicuously absent from mainstream religious texts and traditions. How did a figure once so important become almost forgotten outside of esoteric circles? The answer reveals a fascinating story about theology, power, and the boundaries of orthodoxy. Metatron's origins are somewhat mysterious. In Jewish mystical writings, especially the Kabbalah and earlier Merkaba mysticism, Metatron is depicted as the transformed Enoch. He is the antediluvian patriarch who walked with God and was taken into heaven without tasting death. Upon his ascension, Enoch was said to transform into the archangel Metatron, the celestial scribe who records the deeds of Israel, manages the divine palace, and acts as the chief of all angels. In these texts, Metatron is not a minor angel but the highest, so close to God that he's sometimes called the lesser Yahweh. Some sources even describe him sitting beside the divine throne, a position no other angel is granted. Metatron's legend flourished in the first millennium CE, especially in Jewish mystical circles from the late Second Temple period through the Middle Ages. His image as a supernatural intermediary, heavenly high priest, and quasi-divine scribe made him central to the Merkaba and Hekkalot literature. For mystics, Metatron served as a model for spiritual ascent, guiding initiates through the layers of the heavenly realms. But his popularity came with controversy. Metatron's near-divine status, coupled with his association with the secret divine name, placed him dangerously close to blasphemy and heresy in the eyes of more orthodox authorities. The notion of a created being, especially a former human, sitting in God's presence and sharing in his authority was simply too much for mainstream Jewish and Christian theology. In mainstream Judaism, absolute monotheism is non-negotiable. Any hint of a divine intermediary, especially one with a unique name like Metatron, could suggest polytheism. The idea that Enoch Metatron could be worshipped, prayed to, or regarded as a lesser god alarmed rabbinic leaders. This concern is reflected in classic rabbinic sources. In the Talmud, one story recounts a heretic, possibly a proto-Christian, who is accused of worshipping Metatron. To prove that Metatron is not divine, God punishes Metatron with 60 fiery lashes, showing that no angel shares in his divinity. Similarly, in Christianity, the only legitimate mediator is Jesus Christ. The notion of another intermediary, especially one derived from Jewish mystical traditions, was regarded as dangerous or even heretical. Early Christian leaders deliberately avoided any endorsement of Metatron's legend, even as the Enochic literature lingered on the fringes. Over time, religious authorities in both Judaism and Christianity sought to suppress, downplay, or simply erase references to Metatron from mainstream doctrine. Here's how. The Book of Enoch, also called First Enoch, which details Enoch's transformation, was excluded from the Jewish biblical canon and survives only in the Christian Ethiopian tradition. Later mystical works referencing Metatron were considered peripheral, even dangerous, by mainstream rabbis. References to Metatron were sometimes edited out of texts, recast in symbolic language, or relegated to marginal commentaries. In synagogue liturgy and public teaching, Metatron's name all but disappeared. Rabbis and church fathers alike wrote polemics against angel worship and the dangerous allure of intermediary figures. Stories about Metatron were often framed as cautionary tales against heresy or spiritual excess. As rabbinic Judaism and Christianity became more defined, there was increasing emphasis on theological clarity and boundaries. Figures like Metatron, with their ambiguous roles and semi-divine powers, were left behind in the rush to establish orthodoxy. While Metatron was mostly erased from public, official religion, his legend flourished underground. In Kabbalistic writings, especially the Zohar and later mystical texts, Metatron remains the archangel of divine mysteries, guardian of the tree of life, prince of the divine presence, called the Shekinah, and keeper of hidden knowledge. In some strands of Sufism and Gnostic Christianity, Metatron's shadow lingers as a symbol of the cosmic scribe, or the idealized human elevated to the angelic. Even in modern pop culture, Metatron has re-emerged as a character in novels, comics, and television shows, often as a mysterious being who knows secrets lost to mainstream tradition. Metatron was erased from mainstream religion not because he was unimportant, but rather because he was too important. Metatron was too powerful, too ambiguous, too threatening to the idea of a single, absolute God. By blurring the line between human and angel, between creation and creator, Metatron embodied both the hopes and the dangers of mystical religion. Yet for those who look beyond the surface, Metatron still remains in hidden texts, invoked in Kabbalistic rituals, and still standing at the threshold between heaven and earth, recording the deeds of all who seek the divine. Why do you think Metatron was erased from mainstream religion? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. It helps us make better videos and grow our community of like-minded thinkers. Thanks for watching.